Hello and welcome to United on Wheels. What's going on? What's up? It's me, Paul Amadeus Lane. I am so delighted to have you on this edition of the show today. Why? Because we're going to talk about gaming, adaptive gaming, but we're also going to meet an incredible member of our United Spinal Association family. He's down at the Atlanta chapter. We're going to find out about his journey in the SEI community, but also how he's helping to bring adaptive gaming to our community. You do not want to miss that coming up here shortly. Before we bring him on, don't forget, you can always connect with me, paulamadeouslane.com. That's how you can find me on all social media platforms. It's Paul Amadeus Lane, and we can connect. We can be friends. Let me know what you think about our podcast. You have any subjects you want us to touch on in the spinal cord injury community, let us know, and we got you covered. Yes, we do. Don't forget to go to our website, unitedspinal.org. We are still in our Strong Will Together campaign. You don't want to miss that. You don't know what that's about? You can find out on our website. It's an incredible campaign, just recognizing just the things that we've been able to do in the community. We're part of the Mobility Challenge family. The contributions that we've made in many different fields out there, you can check us out. All right, without any further delay, let's bring on our very special guest. I am so delighted to have with me right now Dr. T. Welcome. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
So great to have you and have this opportunity to chat with you. You're well known within the United Spinal Association family. You do some writing with New Mobility Magazine. So it's my honor to chat with you, and we get a chance to get to know you a little better. We see your writings, we see your articles, but now the spotlight is on you, my friend. So you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So Dr. T, let's talk about your journey with spinal cord injury. If you don't mind sharing that with us, please.
Oh, sure. It started 40 years ago in July 27th, 1982. I was injured secondary to a diving accident. So I had recently had surgery for Crohn's disease. So I grew up with a chronic condition, and it left me with a bag on my side. And so the doctor said, don't let the bag keep me from doing whatever I wanted to do. And I said, well, my job back as a lifeguard. So he signed my thing to go back to work, my permission slip. And I think it was one of the first weekends back. And I used to work on Long Island Sound, but because of my being away, I had to take a position on Lake Mohegan in Fairfield, Connecticut. And it was the end of the day. I was going to fix a buoy. And I asked somebody for a surfboard, and the woman said, no, you don't need it. And so I ran out, and I had a tool in one hand because I was just going to fix a buoy. And I had a habit of putting my right hand over my bathing suit because I hid this ileostomy bag under my bathing suit so it wouldn't come off. And I ran in and I dove over a line that was supposed to separate the deeper end. And I did a flip and I head planted instead of going all the way over. And that was my entry into this world of disability. So that was 40 years ago. I was in business school. It was between my junior and senior year. I went on, I graduated with a degree in finance. That wasn't floating my boat working in the bank. I went to durable medical sales. And then from there, that company was sold back to school, got an MPH, Master's in Public Health. And that's when I began to focus on sexuality education and counseling and spinal cord injury rehab. And then I went on to get a PhD in that area. So, that's most of my writing, and most of what I'm known for is in the area of sexuality and disability.
And Dr. T, when you were going through your injury early on, was sexuality you thought was not talked about enough in our community, and that kind of shifted your focus when you got a little older to really kind of meet that need of someone who, number one, is a part of our community, and number two, someone who can help out our community. If you don't mind sharing that with us, please.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was very curious. I was wondering what was happening to me. Why do I get an erection? Why can't I ejaculate? Why can't I feel this? And there weren't good answers. The doctors were like, well, will I ever have children? All I was told is like, and this was in 1982. Well, your chances of having children are about 10%, and nothing about my sexual life. There were some older videos out there, but they were, they were shown in rehab, but they weren't shown with a lot of good processing. So anyway, I felt like I was on my own to explore my sexuality, and I just took it to another level. I read a lot, and I experimented a lot. And as I learned, I shared, because truthfully, it was like other people with spinal cord injuries who shared little secrets with me, through United Spinal and through, our meetings. So there was older guy, John Schatzline, who had done a lot with sexuality and shared information about using a vibrator. And that's how I ended up having my son, through vibrostimulation and at-home insemination. And then I wrote about that experience in New Mobility, and other people contacted me and sent me pictures of their children. So I think we're just passing on the knowledge, but the difference, I think, when I got involved, I set up a website in 1996 called sexualhealth.com, and it was to, end the silence around sexuality and disability. So the ability to share information more broadly, I think, has made the difference. So it's just not, in a little room in a circle at a meeting, once every few years. So now that information could be disseminated, to millions. And I really did, touch millions of people over the years when I ran sexualhealth.com, from 96 when I launched it to about 2010, 2011 when I had sold it to a telemedicine company.
And that's something that I remember when I first got injured, and I thought I was injured a long time till you and I talked. I'm going on 30 years in November of next year, and you have me by 10 years plus. Yeah. And that was one of the things that I remember when I first got hurt, that I kind of grappled with, like, wow, because you hear about what paralysis mean, what it is, and it's not talked about enough with our community. So a lot of people are depressed about what their outlook will be when it comes to having an intimate relationship, about having kids, and all the other things that go along with it. And we are so blessed, Dr. T, to have you not only a member of our community, but be a professional in the community that can guide us when it comes to sexuality. And oftentimes, people think that sexuality is a dirty subject and not to talk about. But it's something that's real life experience, especially for ones in the SEI community who are married, who are in relationships, who want to have children, of what their outlook is, because that can be the difference between someone being depressed and giving up, to looking at what the future may hold for them in their different relationships.
Yeah, I mean, it's also important for a lot of single people when they first get injured and they think their sex life is over, and it's it's pointless. Why bother? I did research on pleasure and orgasm after spinal cord injury. Early on, people are thinking, it's not the same, it's not normal. And they experiment. Sometimes, most of the times, the first time is with self-pleasure or masturbation. And whether it's they can't feel it, or it's diminished sensation, or they don't get aroused the same, or they don't ejaculate, or they don't lubricate, whatever, they say it's not the same, it's not normal, it's pointless, why bother? And sometimes then people go on to have a lived experience with a partner, and that's not good. Partner, I did a lot of research with women, and there's some ugly stories of partners leaving them, cheating on them, avoiding sex with them, comparing them to other people or to before their injuries. And so that really could really hurt people's sexual esteem. But also on the flip side, it was a relationship with a significant other, that marked a peak sexual experience when there was trust and safety. So when people felt like they could trust their partner, they felt, emotionally safe, they were able to be more vulnerable, and they were more open to pleasure. So that trust and safety led to a sense of connectiveness, which was associated with pleasure and even orgasm, sometimes 8, 10, 15 years after injury. So there is hope The earlier people start and keep an open mind and talk with other people and learn about how they could, compensate for lost sensation and et cetera, the better their chances of recovering their sexual health more quickly.
So, Dr. T, if you don't mind sharing some of the challenges that you face, not necessarily with sexuality, but just adjusting when you were newly injured, and how did you kind of overcome those different challenges?
Boy, besides sexuality, because connecting with somebody, on a sexual level instead of just a friendship level was something that I think everyone goes through. Um, Boy, my father had passed away before I broke my neck, so it was just my mother and I. Just like typically you'd go home and there's no ramp in your house yet, and people have to help you down this step and all that. And, the very embarrassing thing, my mother having to cath me, that was probably the most embarrassing thing someone could go through. That was, and then, yeah, I had to negotiate. Fortunately, I broke my neck at work, so was workers' comp. But I had to negotiate to get myself back to school where I was out of state and not in state. So basically, I had to be a self-advocate from the beginning. Before I got on workers' comp, they were trying to push me into a residential facility. But through fighting and finding out what my rights were, they built a whole room onto my mother's house. So I had my whole accessible suite, roll-in shower, study area, all that stuff. So I think, between my mother's advocacy and my own, it's very important to learn how to fight for what you want. And first you have to understand what you're entitled to. So, I've learned whenever there's an issue, I go and I see what the law is, whether it's the Americans with Disabilities Act or whatever. Sometimes I call the Department of Justice and I tell them the situation. Once I know what my rights are, I will fight for whatever I'm entitled to, and if it's not something that I'm legally entitled to, then I will take a different tact and still try to get what I want. But obviously I don't have the same leverage as saying, what the steps I'll take. So, it was, just trying to get people to understand I wanted to go back to school where I was going and to do what I was doing. I didn't want to be forced into computer science, which the Department of Rehab Services wanted to do. And in retrospect, I probably would have been doing very well and made a lot of money doing it. But I just didn't want to do what they thought I had to do as someone who was a quad. I wanted to go back. I finished a degree in finance. I took a job in banking. I didn't get the job I wanted. I went to Wall Street to interview, but because of my disability, they thought I wasn't going to be good to be a commercial lender. So they offered me an auditing job in Long Island instead of New York City. I'm like, no. So I took a job in a local bank in Connecticut and started in the finance area because that's the area I thought I wanted to do. But just through my really involvement with United Spinal from my early days, I started getting more involved with the chapter and chapter leadership. And that led me to a job in durable medical equipment sales and then back to Yale for my degree in public health. So all that was through my association with our board members in Connecticut at the time at United Spinal. So I've got a lot to thank for United Spinal for that. I mean, well, I mentioned John Schatzine, and that was also at a national meeting. So really, United Spinal has been there, for 40 years, and I still read religiously. One of the things I read every month is New Mobility, and I just talked to Ian. I'm like, your last bully put, it's like, it was painful because I go through a lot of the same experiences that he was talking about with hemorrhoids and stuff, as I could feel his pain and see my future. But I mean, it's good stuff. It's what everybody in combination, they have articles on what touches our lives on a daily basis. Aging with a disability, in my case, different concepts. So
no, and that
it's very important to find support.
Yeah,
and even if it's a supportive other, a mentor with a disability, you can't do it alone. You won't get the resources you need.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that, Dr. T, because I find out that some of us elder statesmen who have been disabled for many years, we're able to to help the newer generation that's coming, and also we can all learn from each other too, from our experiences. For some of us who've been injured for decades and continuing to live, and one thing that impressed me about you and just your journey, you did all this before the Americans with Disability Act. You did a lot of fighting, before, but you were injured before that law even came into practice, and you didn't give up. You just kept on going.
Yeah, no, I watched a lot of things change over the years. When I was injured and did my rehab at NYU at Rusk Institute Rehab, New York City. And my uncle lived in the city, so he'd pick me up every Thursday, and we'd go out for ribs at a different place in New York City. And
that's what I'm talking about, ribs.
And so maybe 1 in 10 buses were accessible. And that one bus was maybe 1 in 10 chance that the driver had the key and knew how to operate it, and it was working, And so it was very hard to get any kind of public transportation. You couldn't really get on the subway, like 42nd Street and like 140, 125th or somewhere. There were very limited access points for the subway. So I watched, accessible transportation, more curb cuts, more accessible bathrooms. Oh, geez, finding a bathroom in New York City in 1982 was impossible. Everything was like down a few steps. So, a lot of people don't realize how far we've come. And that's fine. A lot of people take all that for granted, and they push like nothing's happened, like nothing's been done, which is fine. That's their experience. But we shouldn't rest on our laurels. But we really have come remarkably far in 40 years in accessibility for people with disabilities.
Yeah, we have. And when I hear like some of the grumblings from like the younglings in our crew, I'm like, you have no idea how hard it was for us when we, but I hear them, and with some of the challenges that we can teach them patience and just how to navigate through it, and we can learn a lot from them too.
Absolutely.
I wanted to spend some time with you about being with the chapter down in the Atlanta area with United Spinal, and you have a pretty weighty responsibility down there at that chapter. Why don't you tell everyone about your responsibilities for our amazing chapter down in
since we talked on our last board meeting, I've been voted in as our new president, but that's not the big responsibility, as vice president. And I was asked when there were some grant offerings from the Craig H. Nielsen Foundation, what can we get a grant for? And I was like, we need a team like the Quad Gods down here. So, in New Mobility, I've saved the magazine, featuring the Quad Gods, which is an adaptive esports team in New York City. And so they said, go for it. So I wrote a grant to start the first community-based adaptive video gaming esports program in Georgia. And, that was a really generous grant. And we were able to hire, I had in the grant a management team. So we have management and coaching. So we have 26 hours covered every week. I think 6 to 8 of those are coaching our team, and the other is, marketing, organization around that. So we have a team that I manage. I manage the management team for both doing, and the grant does both two things. We do clinics. So, we have people with disabilities come in, and we had bought about $40,000 worth of adaptive equipment. So we have this closet full of different devices, so people could come in and we can set them up with what they need, and we send them on their way with a quote unquote prescription that says, this is what you tried, this is what your setup looks like, this is a link to go get the product, here's some information about places that might fund it if you need it. And so we're doing those clinics. We're doing some webinars to educate other health professionals or other groups on how to do this. Next week, a week and a half, we're going to be at Dragon Con, which is a huge convention, on a panel on accessible gaming. And, we spawned Nerve Gaming, which I'm very proud of. So we have Nerve Gaming. They play Apex Legends. They play Call of Duty Warzone, and they play Rocket League. Those are the 3 games that they're organized and practiced. They play a lot of other games, and we just started a game night on Wednesday night. We play more, community-based games, Among Us, Fall Guys, whatever. And I wrote the grant, I mean, still during COVID, but during earlier days in COVID. So I wrote it so it could all be virtual. And by doing that, our team is open to anybody with an injury or adaptive issues in the country. So two of our guys from the playing on the teams are local to Atlanta, and the other guys are not within commuting distance. And anyone who's interested in actually doing team play can join the team, or any teams around the country that want to play. So we're beginning to plan some scrimmages with New York with the Quad Gods. We've reached out. Unfortunately, I don't think they have a team anymore. We reached out to Craig. They used to have a team, but we're looking for other teams to scrimmage with, and we're planning a fundraiser called Nerve Campaign for Inclusive Gaming, which will culminate in the end of October, where we're going to play a professional team here in Georgia, Atlanta Premier. So we're sending them some Xbox adaptive controllers, giving them time to practice, and they're going to play our guys with whatever adaptations they need. This is our Apex team against their Apex team, and so that's going to hopefully be fun watching these other pros trying to compete against our guys. Some of our guys are top level. We got folks that are won first and third in a PVA. In a PVA tournament recently. So we have some serious players, and I think, they'll go head to head against other players, especially if the other players have to work on adaptive equipment. So maybe we'll do a one-on-one without the other team doing adaptive equipment and see how we hold up. But we're going to look at, creating a rule set that's really accessible, to make it fair for people who are using adaptive equipment to compete. So yeah, the United Spinal Association's adaptive esports and gaming program has been taking up a lot of time, but I'm very proud of how far we've come in just short of 9 months. Really, I think we were up to almost 80 people on our Discord server. I'd have to send you a link, for people who want to join our Discord server. But most of those folks are people with spinal cord injuries, and mostly high levels who are interested in gaming. So we're really creating the community that we sought to create. We're really creating awareness through, being at conventions. DragonCon is huge. We were at MomoCon, which had 40,000 people. We're Southern Fried Gaming. So here in Atlanta, we're like the heart of esports, so it's wherever I go for, I bought a company, Contender Esports. It's a LAN center. It's a computer gaming center. And so I'm out at a lot of these places because as an owner of a franchise, and I always make sure I get a table for Nerve Gaming. So we're really out there, really promoting adaptive video gaming and esports. It's so easy to say adaptive esports, but not everyone has to be competitive. We want to get people playing for fun, and community is number one. Getting people together, playing something, having fun together, and creates bonds and relationships. And if someone needs help with something else, you have a nice tight group, team members or game night members that really understands you and could help.
You are speaking my language, Dr. T, because I'm a gamer. I worked on a number of video games in the accessibility side, and just to hear what you're talking about is music to my ears, because it's something, as a gamer before my accident, I never thought that I would be able to game again. And it wasn't until maybe a decade after my injury that I started embracing gaming again. And I don't know if you have witnessed this with ones that you have worked with in this field, but talk about when ones find out that they're able to game, what has that done to their just their mentals,
It's just amazing, because we've had this one guy, and I think maybe a new mobility and the issue coming up sometime. But Mac, he was a teenager and a lacrosse player, very active, very competitive. Had some rare disease resulted in a stroke, and so he lost his mobility, he lost his speech, and so he was at our clinic. And another guy with the quad, Cougar, helped set him up, in addition to some rehab professionals we had volunteering there. But really, another quad helped him mostly, do his setup. So we had an Xbox controller with a lot of buttons, and then with his hand that functioned, he had a controller in co-pilot mode, and he hadn't played in 4 years. You said 10 years, but nowadays people are learning faster. And, the look of joy on his face. And then he happened to live, we did the clinic, the adaptive sports and everything is totally separate from Contender Esports, but I happen to start the adaptive sports and I own Contender, and we keep our equipment at Contender Esports. So we did the first clinic there. And so he happened to live near my store, and he came back on his own, with a friend and a brother or something, with a few people. His mom bought a family membership. My son runs the store, and so he knows how to hook everybody up. So he just comes in now on his own in the community with his able-bodied friends and family, and plays. And so this has given him another vehicle for competing and for gaming and just having fun with everybody else.
And that's one thing I notice about gaming, Dr. T, is when we make gaming inclusive for all and make it open to a lot of different individuals out there, it makes it just a wonderful world for gaming. And I'll quantify that with this. There's a segment of our population that has no idea that gaming exists for them. And that's why this discussion that you and I are having when they're talking about an esports adaptive team and all these things, we're bringing some joy to people's hearts right now. We are making the wheels go off in their head, saying, you know what, I could be a professional adaptive esports player, and that's really our goal. What we're trying to be, like some of these teams that are put up in these lofts with these chefs. With these per diems, we want that for our community.
We want that, and that's what.
Yeah, and that's
my goal is to get our team sponsored, Nerve Gaming, and so this will be our first fundraiser. But I'm pushing to gain awareness as much as possible here in Atlanta. And as I said, we've got some major players here in Atlanta in the area of esports, and the more awareness we could get, the more people on our side. And you told me you were on the board of Dagger Gaming, and I was checking out their website yesterday. And actually, right after I talked to you, Mike was in a meeting with me. I was slipping on his last name. He's a writer, blogger, and he's going to be on the panel with us at DragonCon. But what really, because I am not, I'm new to gaming. I'm doing this kind of to help other people, and
we're going to change that.
Yeah. So I'm not a gamer myself, but what they said is that when game developers pay attention to accessibility, it just makes the game better for everyone, and that's so true. To talk to any woman with a stroller, or a man with a stroller with a baby carriage, who benefits from a curb cut or from an automatic door, or talk to anybody at the airport who chooses to go into the accessible stall to either just do their business or change, right? And so people are really, everyone I think benefits from a universal design and accessibility. And I think that and what I understand is this is very true too, because they just make better working games when they pay attention to accessibility. So it really takes a great team. I have this, Adina Bradshaw, she's now vice president of technology at United Spinal, who brought us together. So early on, when I was writing the grant, looking for people to help, I'm was calling around, and someone said, I need to talk to Adina. And so Adina, right from the beginning, was quite, excited and supportive, and has been a, instrumental part of our program. And as I said, we researched, and I put job descriptions out, interviewed a lot of people for managing the program. I ended up, one guy convinced me to hire his company called Evolve to be the management team. So I actually have 3 people on the management team. One primarily focuses on all the marketing, website, social media, et cetera. One focuses on organizing the team and the coaching, and the other one is more on the general management of everything. And but they work well together, and they work well with us, and really have helped us. Kevin, who oversees the coaching and really recruiting too, I credit him for finding out these great guys with spinal cord injuries from all over the country through just searching everybody's Discord, So he did a really grassroots outreach, and we're connecting gamers who weren't connected before, and they get along well together. So
yeah, we have a pretty awesome community out there, don't we?
Yeah.
We definitely do. And Dr. T, is there anything else you'd like to let us know about the fundraiser, about the adaptive esports?
Yeah. So the fundraiser, as I said, it's going to be the NERV campaign for inclusive gaming. And I think we're going to work with this company, Soft Giving, which is going to allow us to make an overlay, which will have a button where people could give. And so we're going to be looking to recruit folks who stream and folks with a following. You don't have to be an influencer with 1 million people, but if you do, we welcome that. But even if you just have 100 people or so that follow you, we know that gamers are generous people. And so when, one gamer asks another gamer to help support a cause, I've been doing a lot of studying and researching about donations and fundraising. Gamers give almost like 50% of the people who from a stream will give something. So, which is really amazing compared to general kind of fundraising type thing. So anyone who wants to get involved, they should contact me. What would be the best address? If you could remember, esports at United Spinal Atlanta, I don't know, or just DRM Tepper, Gmail. We could post a link, but yeah, anyone who wants to get involved, point them in our direction, and we'd be glad to get them an overlay that they could put on during the month of. Hope to launch this at the beginning of October, and culminate October 28th with this scrimmage.
Awesome. Dr. T, really enjoyed chatting with you about your journey in the SCI community, but also the work that you're doing to educate us when it comes to many things out there, and you taking the bull by the horns when it comes to esports. And like I said earlier, we're going to turn you into a gamer. So
all right, and just an honor to be interviewed by you, someone who's on broadcast radio has interviewed such great people. Really hats off to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to our next chat, Dr. T.
All right, see you at some meeting.
A huge shout out to Dr. T. Really enjoyed chatting with him about his spinal cord injury journey, but not only that, how he's helping our community out when it comes to sexuality. And we can't forget about gaming, adaptive gaming. Y'all know me. You know what I'm about gaming. I love some video games out there. And to hear what he's doing out there is really, really amazing. Have we not heard of the chimes at midnight? I know you guys heard that. That's the clock going off telling me, Paul, shut up, and tell people to go to the website, unitedspinal.org. Go there. You can find out about our Strong Will Together campaign, but also about some of the great things that we have going on here at unitedspinal.org. Our Tech Access Group, which I'm a part of. You can find out about our Tech Talks. You can find out about everything we have going on. And for you, not businesses out there, but for you, businesses out there. Because if you in business, that means you're successful. So You can go there and find out some things how we can help you out when it comes to hiring ones from our community. You can find out things about what's going on here at United Spinal and how you can be a part of it, how you can help us out. Well, it's time for me to get out of here. But before I let you go, remember, stay healthy, stay safe, and I love you guys to life. Take care, folks. Till next time.